So what's new then in ClusterControl 1.5? First, we have added support for a couple of new technologies. First and foremost, I'm very happy to have to say that we have, to be able to say that we support MariaDB 10.2. And then this means that you can deploy and manage then Galera clusters and MySQL replication setups using master slave setups using MariaDB 10.2. For Postgres, we have added 10.x support. So if you deploy a Postgres cluster today, you will get Postgres 10.1. And for MySQL cluster, we have then updated to support MySQL cluster 7.5, which includes the new, which is based on the new MySQL 5.7 MySQL server. We have then, as I said, started on improving on our cloud services. So the first thing we have done here is to make sure that you can upload backups to AWS S3 and Google Cloud Storage. So you can actually either you can have, for example, you have backups already. You can actually then upload them, or you can, when you are scheduling backups, you can go in and tell if you want those backups to be uploaded to the cloud on completion. Then, of course, you can then download these backups and restore them from the cloud service. We have also added a few things in general to our backup features, and I think one of the very nice things is that we have the support for backup verification. So you can, when you create a backup schedule, say that you want to verify this backup after X amount of time after the backup finish. So this means that you that in this case that the backups that you have taken will also be verified that they can be restored. This is very, very nice if you are having an issue later on where you need to restore from backup. Well, then you know that the backups you have are actually restorable. Another nice thing which comes from a customer feature request is the ability to rebuild replication slaves by staging the replication slave from an existing backup. So before we had to, when a slave got out of sync or failed, or even if you want to add a slave, we needed to stream a backup from the master at that stage to the slave, and then set up the slave from that streamed backup. But now then you can then take an existing backup and rebuild the slave on. So that will alleviate the master from having to do unnecessary work. For Postgres then, we have added, and as I said, support for Postgres 10.1. But one of the very nice things here with Postgres is that we have added also support for HA proxy with keep alive D. So this means that you can now build a very elegant HA setup on Postgres using then HA proxy and keep alive D. And moreover, we also added the synchronous replication feature that exists in Postgres. So it's possible then for when you write to the master, you then know, and you have committed on the master, you know that the data is also on replicated to the slaves. And then we also added this new backup method, PG-based backup, which makes a binary copy of the data instead of a logical dump, which is done with a PG dump. For Proxy SQL, we added the possibility, and this is also again a customer feature request, to be able to import existing database users into Proxy SQL. So the problem was that this customer had an existing MySQL environment and already a number of users provisioned on the MySQL database nodes, and then they wanted to add a load balancing layer on top of this. And to do so, well, they needed to retain their users, so that Proxy SQL could authenticate towards the MySQL database with those existing users. So then now it's then possible then to import those existing users into Proxy SQL so that applications can connect in a proper way. It's also possible to add and modify scheduler scripts, because in Proxy SQL it relies on a script to check up on connections towards the database nodes. It's this load balancing on, and now then you can make modifications in that area. Some other features that we have added for MongoDB, we have added the possibility to show and filter database status variables, which is nice, so you can see a little bit better now how the MongoDB nodes are configured. We have also added a nice HTML formatting to our alarm and digest emails, so they look very good. And we have also added support for multiple NICs when you're deploying load balancers, so that again you can choose on that the load balancer towards the database end is using one network, and then your applications can connect to the load balancers on another network. We have done tons of improvements to UI and UX performance. So a lot of work has been done there under the hood, so to say. We have also added a new type of report, which is called database growth, and I'll show you that a little bit later here during the demo. So I will switch to show you ClusterControl now and demo a few things here. So this is the current. So this is ClusterControl, and in this is the web user interface that you see here. And within my ClusterControl environment, I have three clusters. I have one MariaDB 10.2 Galera cluster. I have one MariaDB 10.2 replication setup with a master and a slave and a max scale. And then finally I have a Postgres 10.1 cluster here. But initially when you load up the web UI, and it's the first time you do it, you would not have any clusters whatsoever here. So it would be a blank, an empty list here basically. And the first thing you can do then is of course then to deploy a database cluster. And by hitting the deploy icon, you will then be presented with the option to either deploy a database cluster or import an existing database setup into ClusterControl. So I'll press on deploy, and here you see the different text that you can deploy. You can deploy MySQL replication, Galera, the NDB cluster, MySQL group replication as well, MongoDB replica set, and then if you want to go big from all at the beginning, you can choose to deploy a MongoDB sharded setup, and then also Postgres. So I will show you a little bit on how this wizard works. And the first thing that you need to do is to enter an SSH user that from the controller, which runs on a particular piece of virtual machine or instance, to the other instances where you want to provision your database node. So this SSH user must be able to reach the other nodes. So I will put in a user called test here, and then you can also then change your key paths and SSH ports, and then you give you can give the cluster a name. I give test cluster. And then you can choose what vendor you want to have. I want to have MariaDB, and I want to have version 10.2. And you give it the administration password, the root user password. Okay, and then you press continue. And in this screen now, then you can start building up the replication topology that you would like to have. So I want to have a replication topology with the master should be on this IP address, and now this will fail. So we're actually checking the SSH authentication at this stage, and this is very helpful because, well, it saves you a lot of time. So already at this stage you can know that your SSH settings are wrong, basically. So I'll go back here a little while, and I will change to an actual SSH user that I have. And then I will select MariaDB 10.2 again. I key in this password again, and then I will add, I will enter this host name again. And now you can see that the SSH connectivity to this node is fine. And if this node now would have multiple network interfaces, it has another network interface here called ETH0. Then I could choose to use that network interface. But I don't want to do that. I want to use the network interfaces that I provided, and I can start adding more and more nodes. I can then add also another master if I would like to have that, and then under that master I want to add yet another master, right? So that gives you an idea of what kind of topologies that you can set up here with MySQL replication. And then when you're happy with this, you would hit the deploy button. I would like to go in then to Postgres actually and show you that. It's very, very similar. All the visage starts out in the same way with a SSH user. And then you press next, and you are presented with the server port that you wish to use, and then also if you want to what Postgres version you want to use. And in this case, you can select Postgres version 10, and this will actually install Postgres 10.1. And you give then a user, an admin user and an admin password, click continue, and then you can start building up your topology here too. And for Postgres, we do only have master slave possibility here. So you cannot set up a multi-master setup with Postgres. And you can then click in and add the slaves that you would like to have. Right, so I will actually close this deployment wizard right now, and I want to show you a couple of other things. The next thing I would like to show you is about our operational reports. And I click on Settings, Operational Reports. And the first thing I would like to show you is our database growth report. And here you can have a report, and you can create this report and you can have it emailed to you. You can create a schedule for it, so you can say how often you would like it to run. But what it will do is that it will analyze your databases and compare with the last day, the database size and index size and database count. You can also compare on a weekly basis, so today compared to a week ago and today compared to a month ago. And now I haven't had this running for so long, so I don't have any weekly stats or any monthly stats yet. But if I click on last day, I would go down here and I can see that the different databases I have are listed here in this table, and how many tables are included in those databases, and I can see what is the trending on these databases. And then I can even look into, for each database, I can look at the tables on a table level to understand how individual tables are growing. So I think that's very useful. We also have another operational report called the backup report, which gives you indication on how well your backups are performing, right? So you can see the last successful backup when it's finished. And for each cluster that is inside ClusterControl, you get a success rate, and you see also what are the retention period for these backups. And as you can see, for Postgres, we don't have any backups yet, and you get a little hint indicating that you should really, set up your backup policy. You can go into details about the backup, so you can check where what host that was backed up, what type of data was backed up, what kind of method was used, and where the backups are stored, and sizes. And again, you can then schedule this report to run, for example, every week. So every Monday morning when you get in the office, you will have then a report showing you what has happened regarding backups in your cluster. The last type of report I would like to show you is the upgrade report. And I think this is quite nice because here you can see what if there are newer packages available for your database or for your servers in general, actually. So we can see here on this host name, for example, I have the MySQL and a MaxScale running. It's installed version 10.2.10, and there are actually 211 new packages that can be updated, and I have 10 database packages that can be updated, and also 5 security packages. So I can click down on this link here, and I will see then that, all right, MySQL MariaDB packages are, there is a new version available, 10.2.11, but I have 10.2.10. So should I upgrade or should I not upgrade? That's a very delicate question to answer. The short answer is, if you don't have any problems, you should not upgrade. But you might be curious to learn what has been added in this new MariaDB release. So what you can do is that you can click on this link here, and you can then immediately go in and look at the changelog of MariaDB 10.2.11. So you can make an informed decision if you should upgrade or not. Right. So again, you can have then this report scheduled, and so that you can create a schedule, and you can then have it run every week, for example. Okay, so I will go back then, and that will conclude the operational reports demo, and I will now go into cloud backup and our integrations that we have. So if you now want to be able to upload backups to the cloud, or even possibly use our notifications and configure PagerDuty, for example, I will show you where you can do that. You press on settings and you go to integrations. And here you have two tabs here, third-party notifications and then cloud providers. I'm not going to add a notification right now, but I will just show you that here is where you do that. So you can select them that you would like to add PagerDuty, and you can go in here and get some help on what you need to do on your PagerDuty account in order to make this integration happen, right? So, but now I want to show you the cloud providers and how we set it up. So here is the view that shows you the different cloud credentials you may have. You might not be bound to one cloud. As I said, we are supporting now Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud. But we are adding more clouds going forward here. And those will all be listed here then. And in this case, I have already an Amazon Web Services account, but I will show you how you create a new cloud credentials account. And I select the Amazon Web Services, and I press continue, and I give it a name. I give it some fake ID and some fake secret key. And then I select, what is my default region. I give this a comment as well. And then I save, I close. Okay. Now I have created this account, and now it's time to make use of it. So I will go back to my database clusters. I will go into backup. I will go into create backup. I select create backup, and then I select that I want to back up this particular host, and I tick this option here that I want to upload the backup to the cloud. So I press continue, and then here I can select any of those cloud credential profiles that I have. So I choose test. But oops, test did not work, right? Obviously, I specified the wrong AVS keys, right? And this is then the where you will see that error message. But instead, I will go and use my real account instead. I can create a bucket where I want to upload a backup to, or I can select an existing bucket that I have, and I can then furthermore give a folder within this bucket where I want to store my backup. So I press create backup, and I named it webinar, and then I press create backup, and now the backup is starting to go, and we can press on logs here, and we can then check out the progress of the backup, and it's ongoing at the moment. And when the backup job has finished, another job will start to upload the backup to the cloud storage, and now that is done. So let's go back and look at the backup listing, and here you can see then that we have this new backup that we took. And you can also see here on the storage location section here that we have two different icons here actually. And these icons denotes that we have one backup in cloud storage and one on local storage. So you can, anytime you would like, you can actually take a backup from the local storage and upload it to a cloud provider. So if you have, in this case, I uploaded the backup when I took it to Amazon S3, but now perhaps I want to have it stored also on Google Cloud, and yeah, sure, you can do that. You can also then, of course, delete the storages here if you would like to, and you can also download the cloud, the backup that is stored in the cloud down to your local storage if you wish to. And then I think that's And one more thing here is that when you have deleted all the backups here that you see here, then the entire backup set will be removed as well. Right, and actually it is possible to set different retention periods for cloud and for local storage. So here in this case I have set the backup cloud retention period to be 18 days and the local storage retention to be 31 days. It doesn't really make any sense. Normally you would like to have the cloud retention period probably a bit higher than actually the local storage retention. Then finally, I want to show you how you can rebuild a replication slave based on the backup. So here I have a master and I have a slave, and now I wish to rebuild this from a backup. And what I can do then is that I go into the node actions, I select rebuild replication slave, and I want to rebuild it from a backup, and I take this backup and I select that, okay, this slave should connect to this particular node when it is rebuilt. You can actually select a different master node here if you had many MySQL servers. I only have, except for the slave, I only have one master. But if you had more nodes, you could select any other node basically. So this means that you could, change your topology in this step as well. So I press proceed here, and then a new job has been created. The jobs are very fundamental inside ClusterControl, and those jobs are battle tested and using all the best practices you can think of. So eventually this job is finished, and we have then rebuilt the replication slave, and it's now in rotation again. Load balancers and so on have been updated accordingly during this time. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to demo today.